In this demo, we will learn how to update a point of interest for a city, using both AutoMapper and our repository. Let's first uncomment the action to update a point of interest. Just as with creating a resource, we'll have to add a mapping, this time from the point of interest for update TTO to a point of interest entity. So we switch back to our point of interest profile and we create a map. Then on to that update point of interest action on the points of interest controller. We kinda know how to do this by now, right? We know we're going to call into our repository, so we know we need to use the async modifier here and that we need to return a task. As our update method returns a no content eventually, it's a task of type action result and not a task of type action result of t. First we check whether the city exists or not, and if it doesn't, we return a not found. We can use our city exists async method for that. The next check we need to do is checking whether the resource we want to update exists. In other words, we need to find a point of interest. Here too, we now need to call into our database. We do that by calling into getPointOfInterest for city async on our repository. If the point of interest entity cannot be found, we return a not found. And then we can use another mapper.map method. This is a bit of a special one. If we pass in the source object, in other words, the point of interest that's been passed in via the request body as the first parameter, and we pass in the entity, which is the destination object, as the second parameter, AutoMapper will override the values in the destination object with those from the source object. So after this simple statement, we have an up-to-date point of interest entity. As that point of interest entity is an entity, it's tracked by the DB context, so once we call save changes async, the changes will effectively be persisted to the database. If all of that works out, we return a no content. And that's it. Let's give this a try. We've got a request to update the point of interest lined up here from a previous demo. This request will update both the name and the description. Let's send it. And we get back a 204 no content. That's looking good. Just to check, let's try getting this point of interest. It should now contain the updated values. And that is indeed the case. There's another way to update resources. In fact, it's the preferred way, partial updates. Let's check that out.